Hi, Happy New Year and welcome back to Studio 607 Webcasting. In this lesson, we're going to be covering the 3/4 time G run. We're going to talk about a transition to D, and we're going to cover another very common Lester Flatt lick that was used in the G chord. You can use it in with any song in common time, and it's a really common lick. You'll recognize it immediately. Now, we'll start out with the 3/4 time G run. Sounds like this. Now, before I get into that, I want to say just a word about what I call stabilization, which is stopping your hand and putting it firmly against the guitar in preparation of doing a lick. A rest stroke is, in fact, where you stop the pick on a string, then pull it off. But as you see, I'm able to do rest strokes without having my hand on top of the guitar. I'm still able to achieve rest strokes. This does absolutely nothing for my timing. If I try to do this, there's no way in the world that I'll be able to be consistent with G runs. This is most likely why Tony Rice always drops 2 fingers down when he goes for any kind of a lead run. It's almost certainly why Lester Flatt stopped his rhythm playing and set his hand out like this, was to stabilize it. I firmly believe that. Most lead players, when they get through playing rhythm and start for any kind of lead, or rhythm players when they go for a run, they'll almost always do some form of stabilization. This is so they can have control over what their right hand is doing instead of it being in midair. Not all, but most of them do this. Now the run. Start out with your middle finger on the 3rd fret on the G string, or you can slide into it. So slide or start out, go down with a brush stroke. Now go from the 1st to the 2nd fret in a slide with your 1st finger on the A string. This is a pretty fast slide. Now hit the open D and the open G. Now about this slide from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret on the top string, I usually reserve this for 3/4 time only. Sometimes I'll do it in 4/4 time, but I find that in regular common time, it's harder to get a good solid sound when you go back to the G note on the top string there. If you do a slide, it's a lot harder to get that in time, whereas in the 3/4 time, it just helps the song rock along. Okay, now the transition lick to D. That's just a very simple lick. It's on the A string and the D string. Note the A string at the 2nd fret. Note the A string again at the 3rd fret. And then hit the open D string. And that's it. So if you're playing in G, now, if I were going to do that coming out of an A chord, for example, I would go from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret. Now, you might have noticed that I did not use 2 fingers, but instead slid my first finger from the 2nd to the 4th fret. That's because I like to get the muted sound of this finger coming off of that string. It's just got a completely different sound then. This is just a different sound. I like it a little better. For me, it sounds a little more poppy. And that's how you do that, either from G or from A. Now finally, the Lester Flatt run that we mentioned at the first of the video. Now this is really good for fast songs, as if it's so fast that you can't get any upstrokes in it, then you can get by just doing this. I know Charlie Monroe played this run a lot, Clyde Moody played this run, and Lester used it a lot, and it's a really nice run, and it'll get you out of a lot of jams, especially in the upper tempos, and it breaks up the monotony of just playing a simple pattern over and over. It's very simple to do. 3rd fret on the top string, brush. 2nd fret on the A string, brush. 2nd fret on the D string, brush. Open D string, brush, and then back to the top string. So top string, brush, 2nd fret on the A string, brush, 2nd fret on the D string, brush, open D, brush. And that's about all there is to that lick. And that's going to wrap up this week's lesson. Hope you're enjoying the New Year's, and hope that you've had a happy holiday season. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching.